I get asked all the time, how do I pick a good area of the country in which to do my real estate investing business? How do I pick a good city, good zone? Where's a good place to work? If I'm going to do this thing virtually, should I be in a single market? Should I be across the country? Whatever. And here's how I pick a single market or multiple markets that meet my criteria to get in. Now, this is a criteria of 5 points that I have developed over the last 20 years in this business. And in my opinion, it is the bomb diggity. It is the way to go. If you do these 5 things, you're going to stay on the right side of the foul line. You're generally going to make money, and it'll be a safe place in which to invest. Now, also, I've recently added 2 other factors besides my initial 5 criteria to look at. But let me go through the first 5. Okay, first place you're looking for is an area of the country or a city, a county, an area of a state that has great natural resources. By natural resources, I mean things like biking trails, hiking, walking areas, mountain, desert that people want to go to and spend time in. If you could do one that's near an ocean or has a coast, a lake, a river, those kinds of things. Those are great. So you want to have good natural resources. Why? Because people like to go to areas that have a great amount of natural resource abundance. Contrary to the 50s and 60s, people like to go outdoors and do things. They like to hike, they like to bike, they like to walk, they like to be in the great outdoors and nature and all that kind of stuff now. So obviously you'd want to pick an area that has great natural resources, something where somebody wants to live close to. All right, that's number 1. Number 2 is you want to be in a smaller market. So something like 500,000 to $1 million, that kind of range, even as low as 250,000, but generally not above $1 million or so people. And the reason you want to be in that kind of mid-sized market is the teeny tiny markets are hard because there's not as many people who want to live there, obviously. A little bit harder to move. It takes a little bit longer to move product. It's like things out in the country. Generally not, in most markets, not a good place to be. In the middle of COVID, of course, it was a great place because nobody wanted to live in town. They wanted to live out as far away from everybody as possible. But generally, in most markets, over most years, you're going to be in a small to mid-sized city, 250 to $1 million. Generally not much more than that. Okay, the third thing is you want to have a great workplace environment. And in order to have a good workplace environment, it needs to be based on multiple industries, at least 2 different industries. So if you have just an agricultural based economy, nothing else, that's not a good place to park your money. That's not a good place to invest. If you've got an area that has ag and high tech, or ag and manufacturing, or high tech and retail, or transportation and manufacturing, any 2 combinations or more makes for great work environments. So I would definitely focus on those types of areas, things that have 2 or 3 or more industries where people can move back and forth between industries, and they tend, especially the high tech growth or the higher growth industry, not necessarily high tech, because Silicon Valley in California is basically all high tech. It's a single industry, would not meet this criteria, right? Used to be farming and high tech, now it's just high tech. So people go there and it takes the market and skews it all out of proportion. Prices get too high, people make too much money, everybody gets silly. It's not a good place to do this kind of business. You want to be in something that has multiple sources. So focus on that. The next thing is you want to be, point number 4, is you want to be within 60 miles of a major university. So every state has land-grant colleges. They have the major universities. So you have the University of Ohio, and then you have Ohio State. So big universities, other big universities in Ohio. I just picked that at random, but you want to be within 60 miles. The reason for that is because studies have shown over the last 50 years or so that people generally will end up living within about 60 miles of a university in which they attended. So at 85%, that's a high number. So 85% generally of the people who go to a university live within 60 miles, end up living close to that university. Not all, but a lot of them. And the reason that you want a high value, highly educated population in your market is because those people tend to make more money. I mean, it's just the way it goes. The higher the education tends to be higher the paycheck. The higher the paycheck is more likely to be able to buy a house from you. So, and they tend to have, university graduates tend to have 2-income households, at least starting off in life. And so there's more money to spend on leisure activities, i.e. natural resources, cultural activities like, nice things that you'll find in smaller towns, but not crazy stuff. And then, you tend to have the higher education, higher income, and they can afford to do these kinds of things. So that's item number 4. Item number 5 is really important. And item 5, without being too politically incorrect here, is a low regulation state. In my opinion, that's a red state. That is something that has low regulation. It would not be California, for example. Unfortunately, I'm a native, 5th generation Californian, but we just have too much regulation. It affects the ability to do business, of a business to do business here. It affects the climate. It affects the cost. Generally, states that have a high regulatory environment, it costs them a lot of money vis-a-vis taxes, because all of those extra government employees to monitor what you're doing costs money. You have to raise taxes to pay for that. So you want to be in a low regulation state. That's my top 5. If you can meet those 5 criteria, generally those things will last during the duration. You'll be in a good area. Now, the 2 bonus ones that I've looked at just in the last year or so that are really important is a high cap market rate. So in other words, where rental rates are relatively high compared to the cost of money. So say, for example, in Indiana, you can buy a 4-plex for 30, 40, 50,000. It brings in $1,000 a month. That's a 2 or 3% per month deal, which is a 24 to 36 cap. That is an ideal market. Those are high cap rate markets. You want to be in something like that brings in a lot of rent relative to the cost. And the second thing in these 2 new criteria is you want to be in a market where the rents are so high. This is kind of the opposite of that. The rents are so high compared to the mortgage payments that it doesn't affect your buyers to buy and get a new loan, even if it's an 8-9% interest. So for example, the city of Pittsburgh, and I've done another deal on this recently, another video on this. In the city of Pittsburgh, what costs you $1,500 a month to rent, you can buy even at 8% interest and pay $1,200 in terms of a mortgage payment. So $1,500 rent, $1,200 mortgage. What's better? It's always cheaper to come out of a rental into a mortgage product in the case of something like Pittsburgh. So you want to look at those areas where rents are high compared to mortgage rates, even when mortgage rates are expensive interest-wise. So that's my 7 criteria. Those are the things that, in my belief, if you follow those, you're going to stay on the right side of the foul line. You'll be able to always make money. It'll be a good economy for you, and you'll have multiple exit strategies. So go out there and do your own research. Find one of those. There's lots of them around the country. I'm involved in 4 of them right now, but there are literally hundreds or dozens at a minimum that you can go to. Go ahead and find yourself a market and go out there and make some money.